That morning, at the city's bus station, Lou Van, a young reporter, was waiting for the Binh bus. In about 30 minutes, she would be heading to Lung Khao village, a remote area in the western part of Than Hoa province. Just a month prior, this very area had suffered a severe landslide, claiming over 30 lives. The incident had drawn significant attention from the press, authorities, and philanthropists alike. Hundreds of thousands of kind-hearted individuals organized fundraisers, donating cash and essential supplies to the fortunate survivors, hoping to help them rebuild their lives. For those who tragically perished, their families received not only financial aid, but also an additional sum to cover funeral expenses and grave construction. Even now, public interest in the lives of the villagers remains high. As a freelance reporter, Lou Van decided to go there to gather news, write articles, and submit them to the newspapers she collaborated with. Upon hearing her intention, they immediately supported her, with some even offering an advance to publish her article in the Binh newspaper. It took Lou Van quite some time to choose the newspaper she would work with. She finally settled on the Thoi Bao An Sang, Light Times, one of the papers with a large readership, and more importantly, its editor-in-chief was known for his generosity. If an article received positive public reception, he was always willing to pay a handsome fee. The bus conductor's call startled Lou Van. She quickly stood up, adjusted her handbag, and walked towards the passenger bus. After nearly half a day of travel, Lou Van arrived at the town's bus station. Getting to Lung Khao village from here would require another full day's journey, but it was already past 5 p.m., making it impossible to continue. She had to find a guest house to stay overnight. It didn't take long for her to spot a signboard for Hoa Hong Guest House. From the outside, Lou Van found it clean and inviting, with a front garden lush with roses. Without hesitation, Lou Van approached the garden, where she met a middle-aged woman with her hair wrapped in curlers. "Hello, I'd like a room for the night," Lou Van said. "Hello, how many people?" the woman replied. "Just myself." The woman eyed Lou Van from head to toe. Her accent wasn't from the region, and staying overnight alone prompted the guesthouse owner to ask, "Are you lost or just traveling?" "Neither, actually. I'm a reporter doing fieldwork for an article." "Oh, a reporter, are you? Which newspaper do you work for?" "I'm freelance, but this time I'm collaborating with Light Times." "Oh, really? My husband buys that paper every week, so will we get to read your article soon?" "Yes, if all goes well, you will." "Well, that's wonderful." While the woman went to get the room key and record Lou Van's personal information, Lou Van inquired further, "So, what brings you here to write about? Is it about the new resort opening soon?" "No, ma'am, not really. I'm just staying here for one night, then tomorrow I'll take a bus to Lung Khao village. I'm writing about the lives of the villagers after the historic flood and landslide last month." Upon hearing this, the guesthouse owner clicked her tongue, sighing, "Oh, that landslide. It was utterly devastating, wasn't it? 20, 30 lives lost. My guesthouse became a temporary home for many charity groups. It was heartbreaking, truly. It makes you realize how precious the spirit of solidarity among Vietnamese people is." "Yes, I agree. I was busy reporting elsewhere at the time, otherwise I would have been here to write about it and support everyone. But since I'm here now, I'd like to know more. How are the lives of the people up there now?" "I heard things have stabilized. The deceased have been properly buried, and the survivors have been moved to a resettlement area. The government is building new houses for them, quite a distance from Lung Khao village, I hear. It makes sense, really. If I had to live in a place with so much sorrow, I don't know if I could bear it." "Not entirely. There are also spiritual matters to consider." "What do you mean by that? I don't quite understand." "Well, the people who died were young and old, men and women. They say it's hard for their souls to find peace. Many families wanted to perform rituals to help their loved ones cross over, but the spirits have appeared in dreams, indicating they can't yet. It's very cold for them. Some even say they'll snatch other people's souls to take their place. People now call Lung Khao village dead land, uninhabitable both literally and figuratively." Lou Van couldn't help but inwardly chuckle a little. Though she was a woman, her profession and personal nature meant she didn't believe in ghosts or spirits. Even during the COVID pandemic a few years prior, she had volunteered to report firsthand on the cremation of deceased patients. Yet, she hadn't felt any fear throughout the night, only immense sorrow and compassion for the unfortunate victims. The two women's conversation was interrupted when Lou Van received her room key and headed up the stairs. The guest house had no elevator, but with only 3 floors, it wasn't a difficult climb. Lou Van's room was on the 2nd floor. As she opened the door, a strong, cheap air freshener scent, similar to Hanoi's low-quality brands, hit her, prompting her to quickly open the window to air it out. Despite the smell, the room was well-equipped and surprisingly clean. With a sigh of relief, Lou Van collapsed onto the comfortable bed. Since she was only staying one night, she didn't unpack all her belongings, just pulled out a set of clothes for a shower. She took care of her personal hygiene and charged her filming and recording equipment. By the time she finished, it was past 8 p.m. Earlier, on the bus, they had stopped at a roadside eatery, but Lou Van hadn't eaten. Now, feeling hungry, she went downstairs to find something to eat. Downstairs, Lou Van saw the owner and called out, "Excuse me, ma'am, is there a restaurant nearby?" "Yes, what would you like to eat?" "Anything is fine, really." "Let me tell you, walk out here, turn left about 200 meters down. There's a fantastic rice stall there. My family never cooks when we're craving rice, we just go there. It's cheap and the owner is friendly." "Thank you, ma'am." Lou Van returned her room key and then stepped outside. True to the guesthouse owner's recommendation, Lou Van's meal was so delicious that she asked for an extra bowl to finish all the food. After eating, Lou Van noticed a drink stall across the street and immediately went over to buy a cup of lychee tea. She began to appreciate the peaceful, unhurried atmosphere. Upon returning to the guest house, the kind owner even gave her the phone number of a motorbike taxi driver. This driver would take her to Lung Cow Village. The departure time was set for 7:00 a.m., and the fare was quite reasonable, especially considering the difficult 10-kilometer road that still lay ahead, with only about 300 meters of paved road. After finishing her preparations, Lou Van returned to her room and lay on the bed. Her next task was to contact the local authorities in Lung Cow Village. "Hello, who is this?" "Excuse me, is this Mr. Binh, the village chief of Lung Cow?" "This is Binh, who are you?" "I'm Lou Van, a reporter from Light Times. I've exchanged a few emails with you recently, do you remember?" "Ah, yes, I remember. So, when will you be coming here to write your article?" "I'm currently in the town. I plan to start my journey to the village tomorrow morning, so I should arrive by noon, I think." "Oh, I see. It takes about 3 hours to get here from the town, but if the driver isn't familiar with the difficult road, it could take longer. Why didn't you let me know earlier so I could arrange to pick you up?" "Oh, no need. It would be too much trouble for everyone. I can manage on my own. I just called to inform you in advance so you can make arrangements." "You can rest assured about that. How long will you be staying in the village?" "I'm not sure yet, but I anticipate it will be one night." "Ah, in that case, I'll prepare a place for you to rest in the communal cultural house." "Thank you so much." After a few more words, Lou Van ended the call. She plugged in her phone to charge, and with nothing else to do, she gently drifted off to sleep. The insistent alarm woke Lou Van at 6:00 a.m. Having had a good night's sleep, she felt refreshed and alert. She got out of bed, took care of her personal hygiene, and checked all her belongings. Then, she carried her bag downstairs. Lou Van found the guest house owner smiling brightly, gesturing towards the dining table nearby. "Good morning, I've prepared breakfast for you." "Oh, ma'am, you shouldn't have. I didn't ask for it." "You didn't ask, but I went to buy breakfast for my husband this morning and got you a portion too." "I feel really bad, ma'am. How much is it? I'll add it to the room fare." "What money? Just pay for the room. No need for anything extra, it's no trouble at all." "I really feel bad." "Don't be shy, come on, eat." Moved by the guest house owner's hospitality, Lou Van relented. After a hot and delicious breakfast, the motorbike taxi arrived. After paying for her room, Lou Van profusely thanked the owner, promising to stay a few more days if she ever returned. At 7:00 a.m., the motorbike taxi set off. After driving for a while, the driver turned to her and asked, "I overheard the guest house owner saying you're a reporter. So, you're going to Lung Cow to write an article, aren't you?" "Yes, I am a reporter." "A female reporter, going all the way to this remote area to write? The climate is harsh and there are many hardships. Aren't you afraid?" "What is there to be afraid of? Do you think just because I'm a woman, I'm delicate? I know martial arts, you know." "Oh, martial arts? That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. It won't help you at all. What do you think I'm afraid of? Don't you know that dozens of people died in Lung Cow village? Now, there are many restless spirits there. Every day, people feel weak, experience aches and pains, and their health deteriorates. In severe cases, they even encounter the ghosts of the deceased." Lu Van just smiled at the driver's words. "Do I look like a weak girl who's afraid of ghosts?" "Let me tell you, I'm not only unafraid, but I've never even encountered one before. Do you want to try to see for yourself?" No, I advise you not to be so overconfident. Someone in my family was once possessed, so I know. It even cost hundreds of millions to get a shaman to cure them." The driver continued to ramble on, but Lu Van didn't want to argue, so she just let him talk, occasionally nodding or mumbling in agreement. Time passed, and after about half the journey, the motorbike turned onto a small, narrow dirt path. It was then that Lu Van truly felt how rough and difficult the road was. Every few meters, there was a pothole filled with mud and dirt. Fortunately, she had prepared by not wearing shoes, but rather a pair of sandals with her trousers rolled up to her knees, so she wasn't too worried about getting dirty. After nearly an hour, Lu Van finally stopped in front of a small, handwritten sign that read, "Lung Cow Village, 100 m. We're here. You can get off now. It's only 100 meters further." "Aren't you waiting for me to go inside?" No, this is fine. You can walk the rest of the way. I don't dare go in there." Lu Van seemed to understand the driver's apprehension and didn't press the issue, just sighed. After paying, she took her backpack and walked along the path. The small dirt road, though said to be 100 meters, was actually twice that length. Upon arrival, Lu Van stopped in front of a new, solidly built building with a sign that read, "Lung Cow Village Cultural House." She had finally arrived. She was about to take out her phone to call Mr. Binh when a middle-aged man emerged from inside, wearing a conical hat and trousers covered in mud, rolled up to his calves. "You're Lu Van, the reporter from Light Times, aren't you?" "Yes, I am, and you must be Mr. Binh. You called me yesterday, right?" "Yes, that's me. Hello, I've been expecting you since this morning. Did you have any trouble on your long journey?" "No, not at all. Have you had anything to drink yet?" "I've eaten. Where would you like to go first?" "If it's not too much trouble, could you take me to the site of the landslide first?" "Ah, yes, of course. Follow me." Inside the cultural house, there was another man in uniform. Mr. Binh immediately introduced them. "Lu Van, this is Mr. Com, our communal police officer. And Mr. Com, this is Lu Van, the reporter I told you about." Mr. Com nodded, extending a rough, sun-weathered hand. "Hello, miss, thank you for coming here to write about our villagers. I hope your article will help them receive more support." "Yes, you too can rest assured. I'll do my very best." Following the two men, Lu Van walked along the path past the cultural house. After another 200 meters, what met her eyes was a vast, flat expanse of slippery mud. Mr. Binh pointed to it and explained, "This is where the floodwaters and mud submerged all the houses, pigsties, chicken coops, and even the villagers. There were nearly 100 people in total here. We were only able to rescue about 70, partly because their houses were deeper inside the village, and partly because some fell asleep or were complacent, refusing to follow our instructions. Looking back, I still feel both angry and sad. I told them to gather at the cultural house that night because it's on higher ground and away from the main current. But they didn't listen. They said, 'Why gather there when we have our own homes?' They didn't realize that a little temporary inconvenience was better than losing their lives. Did you see the news reports when they found the bodies? It was heartbreaking. There was a child, only 3 or 4 years old, pulled out from under the layers of mud." Lu Van sighed deeply. "Have they found all the bodies of the missing people yet?" "Yes, thankfully, none were buried forever. thanks to the help of the provincial military committee, the police, and even the local residents. In less than 3 days, all of them were found. Oh, that's good. And the funeral arrangements and burials, are they all settled? Yes, right after we received the information, a group of philanthropists from the city came here. They paid for coffins and handled all the funeral rites. As soon as a body was found, it was taken to a specific spot and buried on the same day. All 30 victims were given proper funerals and buried on a hill about a few hundred meters from here. Initially, people wanted to bury them in the old cemetery. However, that area is low-lying, and we were afraid that the next heavy rain would cause another flood, so we decided to bury them in a new, safer location. And where are the survivors living now? Initially, right after the incident, we gathered them here in this cultural house. But last week, the engineering corps built a temporary tent camp for everyone, so they've all moved there now. It's not too far from here, about another kilometer or so down this road. And later, could you take me to the burial site and the temporary living area of the villagers? Of course. Oh, and there's one more thing I wanted to ask you again. Yes, please go ahead. When you called yesterday, I said I'd arrange for you to stay in the cultural house, but now I've reconsidered. This place is mainly for us to stay overnight while on duty. As a woman, it wouldn't be convenient for you to stay here. Earlier, I discussed it with Mr. Com. We've arranged for you to stay overnight in one of the temporary tent camps, if that's all right. Lou Van smiled and replied, "There's no need to go to such trouble. I can stay anywhere. In this line of work, not having comfortable food and sleep is quite normal. You get used to it over time." Well then, you have 2 options. You can stay wherever you prefer, and we'll make the arrangements. Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Binh. Before leaving, Lou Van took out her camera and snapped a few pictures for her article. She had seen various documents and videos online before, but witnessing the scene firsthand now deeply moved her. She felt profound sorrow for those who had perished due to the wrath of nature. Lou Van's next destination, guided by Mr. Binh and Mr. Com, was the new cemetery where the 30 unfortunate victims were buried. The path leading there was still muddy and broken in several places. Initially, Mr. Com explained that due to time constraints, they and everyone else could only clear the path and create this temporary road. It was fine on a clear day, but when it rained, it was almost impossible to get through. After walking for a while, the 3 of them finally saw the first graves. All were buried in neat rows, marked only by small mounds of earth. This was understandable, partly due to rural customs where graves are rarely made of cement or brick. Instead, they are simply earthen mounds. 3 or 4 years later, a ceremony would be held to exhume the remains for reburial, with the coffin lifted onto a central pole before being moved to another location for final interment. Only then, if the family had the means, would a more permanent tomb be built. Lost in thought, Lou Van paused when she saw a small grave in a corner, next to which a middle-aged woman was holding a bundle of burning incense, emitting a thick plume of smoke. Curious, Lou Van stepped closer and asked, "Mr. Binh, who is this person? Is she a relative of one of the victims?" "Oh no, she's not. This is Mrs. Bai. She has no husband, no children, no relatives. Ever since the incident, she's helped a lot with the search efforts and the burials. Every day, she comes here to burn incense, and sometimes she even brings votive offerings." My goodness, that sounds so tragic. But before Lou Van could approach her, Mr. Binh added, "There's something I should tell you. Mrs. Bai does many good things, but her mental state isn't very stable." "Why is that?" "Well, it goes back to a family tragedy nearly 20 years ago. At that time, she had a husband and a daughter. But one day, they both went into the forest to harvest bamboo shoots and hunt, and they never returned. When the villagers went searching for them, they found the bodies of the father and daughter by a deep stream in the forest. The autopsy results at the time showed that they seemed to have accidentally eaten a poisonous mushroom, and the toxin acted too quickly for them to be saved. After losing her husband and child, Mrs. Bai became withdrawn, no longer interacting or talking to anyone. In fact, many times people would see her go into the forest and not return for a whole week. Each time, she would come back bruised and scratched, as if she had just endured some ordeal. Gradually, as time passed, Mrs. Bai lived in Lung Khao like an invisible person. Isolated, she wasn't even present on the day of the landslide because she was in the forest. The next day, the others and I even listed her among the victims. But who would have thought that a few days later, she emerged from the forest with a large haul of fresh bamboo shoots on her back. Strangers usually can't approach or talk to her. She gets easily agitated, and sometimes she even lashes out. So, it's best for you to keep your distance. I understand. No sooner had Lu Van finished speaking than she heard a shriek. The sound came from Mrs. Bai. She was holding a bundle of incense in her hand, but oddly, she was staring into empty space as if trying to drive something away. Go away, just go. Don't come here, don't come here. Seeing Mrs. Bai shrieking, Mr. Calm and Mr. Binh quickly ran over. Mr. Calm was the first to speak. Mrs. Bai, calm down, what's wrong? He immediately reached out and grabbed her frail arm. But almost instantly, Mrs. Bai spun around, and whether by accident or intent, the bundle of incense in her hand jabbed straight into Mr. Calm's chest. He flinched, stepping back, while Mrs. Bai continued to shout, "Calm down, no, go away, go away." Mr. Binh quickly moved behind her and snatched the bundle of incense. "Mrs. Bai, for heaven's sake, calm down. There's no one here but me, Binh, the village chief." Mrs. Bai seemed to snap out of it, her eyes darting around. "Mr. Binh, is that you? Did you just arrive?" "Yes, it's me. You need to go back to the camp now. It's lunchtime and staying out here isn't good for your health. You need to eat and take your medicine." "No, I can't. I have to stay here and watch over everyone." "Good heavens, watch over what? Who are you watching over?" "I have to watch over the ghosts, so they don't come here and steal the bodies." "What are you talking about, ghosts stealing bodies? No, there's nothing like that. I told you there isn't. Please listen to me." Seeing the two men struggling to persuade her, Lu Van stepped forward. "Grandma," she said. Mrs. Bai looked up, and Lu Van braced herself for another outburst of hostility. Instead, Mrs. Bai looked at her with incredibly fond eyes. She reached out and grasped Lu Van's hand. "Ngok, my child, you've come home to your mother, Ngok." Lu Van froze, while Mr. Binh quickly explained. "Ngok is her daughter. You must resemble her, which is why she's saying that. Mrs. Bai, this isn't your daughter. Please don't do this, you're scaring her." "It's okay," Lu Van said, giving Mr. Binh a reassuring wink, signaling that she understood. She then took Mrs. Bai's hand. "Let's go back to the camp with your child now, okay? Let's go." Mrs. Bai nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, let's go. Don't stay here, or the ghosts will come to steal the bodies and take my child away." Mr. Calm and Mr. Binh exchanged a quick, weary sigh. And just as before leaving, Lu Van took a few more photos of the burial site. On the way back, she noticed the radiant joy on the middle-aged woman's face. According to Mr. Binh, Mrs. Bai was only in her early 50s, but her emaciated and hardship-worn appearance made her look more like 60 or 70. Upon arriving at the tent camp, the first thing Lu Van felt was a sense of warmth and coziness. Along the rather spacious grounds were about 30 tents erected by the soldiers. They might be called tents, but they looked sturdy and solid. Inside each tent were essential supplies and items like durable blankets. It seemed the villagers here were living in rather good conditions. Mr. Binh added, "As you can see, we are very grateful to the soldiers and police force. They built this camp in just 2 days." It truly is impressive, but I'm sure this is just a temporary measure, right? Eventually, everyone will move to another place. That's right. The plan is for everyone to stay here for about 4 months until the Houses of Compassion, built by the Fatherland Front and philanthropists in the resettlement area, are complete. Then, all the people from Lung Khao village will move there to start new lives. Is it far from here? Not really far, but it's more than a kilometer away. It's on higher ground near a main road, so they won't have to worry about sun, rain, storms, or floods. That's wonderful. After talking for a while, Lu Van paused, noticing Mrs. Bai was no longer there. Oh, where did Mrs. Bai go? Just ignore her, it's normal. She's like a child. I'm actually looking into her situation. Since Mrs. Bai has no children or grandchildren, I'll write a letter of recommendation for her to stay at the Provincial Social Welfare Center for the Elderly. She'll have more care and companionship there. Oh, that's a good idea. And I have one more request for your help. What is it? Please tell me. I'd like to interview and talk to witnesses from the night of the landslide to gather material for my article. That's simple enough. Just wait a moment for me to check if anyone is available after lunch. It's almost time, and I don't want to interrupt anyone's meal. Thank you so much, Mr. Binh, that works perfectly. No need to thank me. This is my duty. People like you help spread the word, making philanthropists aware and encouraging them to help. All I hope for is that our villagers can quickly stabilize their lives, escape poverty, and return to normal. Listening to Mr. Binh, Lu Van truly felt the enthusiasm and responsibility emanating from this man. At lunch, Lu Van ate the same rations as the villagers. Everything was prepared by the local military's cooks. Though simply called soldier's meal, it was hearty, complete with meat and fish. After the meal, each person even received a banana and a carton of milk. Seeing the children happily eating, Lu Van was moved to raise her camera and capture the touching scene. After lunch, Lu Van was led by Mr. Binh to interview witnesses. The first was Mrs. Hai, whose house was at the entrance of the village. When Lu Van asked her to recount the events of that night, Mrs. Hai became very emotional. She spoke with a choked voice. What do I know? There were 5 of us in my house, my husband, our 2 children, and 1 relative. That night, I woke up around midnight to go to the bathroom. As I was fumbling my way downstairs, I heard strange sounds from the mountain behind our house, like boulders collapsing. Sensing something was wrong, I ran up to wake my husband and the children and grandchildren. Everyone was groggy and disbelieving. It wasn't until Mr. Binh came with a loudspeaker, calling out urgently, that people finally moved to take shelter in the cultural house. The next half hour was utterly chaotic as people realized that many others hadn't managed to evacuate yet. Mr. Binh and a few young men from the village ran down, but it was too late. The torrents of mud and earth were sweeping everything away. Mr. Binh himself was almost swept away, but 2 young men managed to pull him back. They spent the entire night crying on the embankment, watching as house after house collapsed and was buried under the mud. At this point, Mrs. Hai pulled up her shirt sleeve and wiped the tears from her eyes. My family all survived, but my cousin's family, at the end of the village, all 6 of them, husband, children, everyone, they all died. It was truly heartbreaking. Lu Van reached out and gently squeezed Mrs. Hai's hand. Please accept my deepest condolences. I hope you and all the villagers in Lung Khao can overcome this immense loss. Thank you, child. Just then another man walked past. Mr. Binh, seeing him, called out, Mr. Su, come here, I've been looking for you. The man, Mr. Su, looked surprised, but Mr. Binh urged, come on quickly. After Mr. Su approached, Mr. Binh introduced him to Lu Van. Lu Van, this is Mr. Su. He's been incredibly dedicated to finding the bodies of our villagers. He knows almost every corner of the village and helped the soldiers find the bodies. If it weren't for Mr. Su, I fear many people would still be buried under the mud. Not only that, but after finding the bodies, he even dug the graves and helped everyone with the burials. Oh, Mr. Su, may I interview you for a bit? Lu Van asked. The man, Mr. Su, seemed shy. What is there to interview about me? What I did was just normal. I used to be a grave digger in the village, so I just wanted to contribute my efforts to help our villagers during this difficult time. Mr. Binh immediately shook his head. No, Mr. Su, I don't agree with that. I know you're humble, but you need to honestly acknowledge your contributions. You helped a lot. I'm going to propose to the communal committee and the provincial level to award you a certificate of commendation. Oh, there's no need for an award. I'm too shy, I can't accept it. Besides, seeing the villagers' suffering and loss, it doesn't feel right for me to receive an award. What's not right about it? This commendation is necessary. If you don't accept it, I'll be upset. Mr. Su finally smiled. All right. Do you have any more questions? I really need to go. I have an errand to run. What kind of errand? Well, I need to go to town to buy a few things for my wife. Don't you have everything here? I've seen people donating all sorts of things. This might be a bit sensitive to say. I suffer from a certain illness, so I need to go there to get some traditional medicine. It's difficult, but what else can I do? Ah, in that case, wait a moment. I'll ask Mr. Com here to lend you his motorbike so you can go down there easily. Oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much. After Mr. Su left, Mr. Binh added with a sigh, "Poor Mr. Su. His family is one of the poorest in the village. He and his wife don't own any land, they just work as laborers. Besides that, Mr. Su also works as a grave digger and funeral organizer, but for many families, he doesn't even charge any money. He's determined to do good deeds." So, at the beginning of the year, some philanthropists, through the communal committee, supported them with some capital for the couple to buy a pair of breeding pigs to develop their economy. But who would have thought that after the landslide the other day, those pigs were buried under the mud, a complete loss. It's truly pitiful. Lu Van felt a pang in her heart upon hearing this, and of course, intended to offer the man some support. Though she didn't have much money, any amount would help him get by. She also thought about finding a suitable time to give him the money discreetly, as it might seem odd to help Mr. Su during the day and not others. Time flew by quickly, and it was already evening. After dinner, Lu Van sat with the children. She had brought notebooks and pens for them to practice their handwriting and listen to stories told by the villagers, including, of course, some eerie ghost stories. "You kids better go to bed early, or the forest spirits will come and snatch your souls. If that happens, you'll go crazy and no one can save you," a woman said, finishing her story. Immediately, 2 of the children in the group showed fear on their faces. They quickly stood up and left Lu Van's tent to return to their family's tents. Feeling a bit annoyed, Lu Van questioned, "Grandma, what are you saying? Let the children stay and play. Why are you scaring them with such stories in this day and age?" You might not know, but everyone around here has heard stories about the forest spirits. This area, from ancient times, has been a deep, wild forest with poisonous water. To survive and live peacefully, there are unwritten rules. Don't go out at night or call each other's names. Because if you do, the forest spirits will immediately imitate your voice to lure you. But if you hear it and answer, your soul will instantly be snatched and dragged deep into the forest. The second rule is that before entering the forest to hunt or gather, if you encounter a snake, you must not touch it but turn back. Anyone who breaks this rule will pay with their life. It's not far-fetched. You know Mrs. Bai in this village, don't you? The woman who lives alone and burns incense at the graves. Yes. Her husband and daughter both violated those taboos, which is why they died. The more Lu Van heard, the more curious she became. Earlier that morning, Mr. Binh had said Mrs. Bai's husband and daughter died from eating poisonous mushrooms. How had it now become a story of being trapped by evil spirits? No, that's just what the authorities say to keep people from panicking. There's no such thing as eating poisonous mushrooms. Mrs. Bai's husband was a skilled forest hunter, and in this area, after rain, you only find edible bamboo shoots and straw mushrooms. There are no poisonous ones. It was all because of that day. When they reached the edge of the forest, the father and daughter saw a pair of snakes. Greedily, they decided to catch them to sell for money. Mrs. Bai's husband went to catch them. While he managed to kill one, he caught the other alive. He put them both into a sack, intending to go deeper into the forest and then sell them at the market at the end of the day along with other hunted and gathered items. But who would have thought? Because of that forbidden act, the father and daughter could never return. At that time, Mrs. Bai's family even invited a shaman to perform a ritual, and he prophesied that because they had violated the taboo, the souls of the father and daughter were captured and turned into forest spirits, serving as both guardians and a punishment. That's why Mrs. Bai often brings food, drinks, rice, soup, wine, and meat to offer to her husband and daughter. And if you, coming from another region, especially as a woman, you should be extremely careful. Lu Van couldn't help but smile faintly at this. It wasn't that she was dismissive, but she simply didn't believe in spiritual matters. She glanced down at the watch on her wrist. It was past 7 p.m. "All right, children, go rest now. I'll be staying here for another night and morning, so if you need help with your homework, just come over." "Yes, ma'am," the children replied obediently, and as they left, the woman also departed as if fearing something. Only then, alone, did Lu Van review the materials she had collected. She also reflected on the time from morning until now. Although it wasn't a very long period, it was enough for Lu Van to grasp some aspects of the villagers' lives. Their level of understanding was mainly gentle and kind, but they were quite isolated and believed in superstitions. Lu Van was determined to include these observations in her article, hoping that the authorities and local government would implement measures to educate and help the residents here change their mindset and way of thinking, so they could truly develop. After jotting down a few more key points, Lu Van quickly lay down on the tarp spread inside the tent. As night deepened, the weather grew colder and colder. Even with multiple layers of clothing, Lu Van felt the biting chill engulfing her. This very cold made her sleep restless, causing her to wake up in the middle of the night. It was truly freezing. Shivering, Lu Van shoved her hands deep into the pockets of her jacket. Honestly, Lu Van wasn't very good at tolerating cold. She could work in scorching hot places, but even a slight chill made her bones ache uncomfortably. Remembering that people had lit a bonfire in the camp that evening, Lu Van decided to open her tent and go outside to warm herself. She also took out a packet of instant coffee from her backpack, hoping to find some warm water to make a cup. However, this idea was quickly dashed because when she unzipped her tent, she saw that the bonfire had long since died out. She considered asking the soldiers for hot water, but then remembered they only served meals to the villagers twice a day at this camp, and then moved back to their encampment in the evening. She recalled it was quite a distance away, so Lu Van had no other choice but to go back inside and try to endure the cold, hoping to fall back asleep. But once again, Lu Van paused when she caught a glimpse of a silhouette in the row of tents opposite hers. A faint light from a lamp about 100 meters away momentarily prevented her from recognizing who it was. Desperate for help, Lu Van quickly stood up and moved closer to the silhouette. When she was only about 10 steps away, she recognized it as none other than Mr. Su. She even considered calling out his name. But then Lu Van hesitated, deciding not to act hastily because she saw him carrying a pickaxe on his shoulder. In his other hand, he held a thick bundle of incense. She glanced at her watch. It was 1:00 a.m. Where could Mr. Su be going at this hour? Could it be that someone had passed away and he was going to dig a grave for them? But even if that were the case, he wouldn't necessarily have to go out in the dead of night. These questions and her professional intuition led Lu Van to decide against calling out to him, choosing instead to follow discreetly. The more she followed, the more curious Lu Van became, as she realized Mr. Su was heading towards the new cemetery where the unfortunate victims were buried. What is he doing here? Is someone new dead and he's going to dig a grave for a funeral tomorrow? But no, that couldn't be right. If someone had truly died, she would surely know about it, having been here all day. And then, upon arrival, Mr. Su's actions utterly surprised Lu Van, for he wasn't digging a new grave at all. Instead, he was striking his pickaxe directly at an already mounded grave. What in the world is Mr. Su doing? He seems so determined. The more she watched, the more unsettled Lu Van became by his strange behavior. And then, after nearly half an hour, she decided she couldn't stay silent any longer. "Mr. Su, is that you? What are you doing?" As Lu Van's calls rang out, Mr. Su dropped the pickaxe in his hand. Recognizing the young reporter, he immediately demanded, "What are you doing here? This is none of your business, go away." "What are you doing? Why are you digging up this grave? Let me see whose grave this is." "Go away, just go." He picked up the pickaxe again, intending to rush towards Lu Van. But when he saw the phone in her hand, Mr. Su immediately turned and fled. "Mr. Su," Lu Van tried to call out, but he had already vanished. What on earth is he doing? Of course, Lu Van didn't want to return to the camp feeling so distraught. She immediately called Mr. Binh and Mr. Com. Soon, the two men, along with a group of communal police, arrived. Seeing the disturbed grave, Mr. Binh was astonished. "Lu Van, what happened?" "It was Mr. Su. He was digging up this grave. I tried to question him, but he ran away." "Mr. Su, are you sure? Or did you mistake him for someone else?" "See for yourself." Lu Van then showed them the video she had just recorded. Although it was dark, her phone's night vision recording feature was quite good, allowing Mr. Su to be clearly identified. Immediately, Mr. Com and the communal police team, organized by Mr. Binh, launched a search. Mr. Binh then took Lu Van back to the tent camp. On the way, Lu Van noticed Mr. Binh sighing repeatedly. Mr. Su, why would he do something like that? Curious, Lu Van began to ask, Mr. Binh, you know something about this, don't you? Can you share it with me? This, well, why do you ask? Are you trying to hide something? No, I'm not trying to hide anything. It's just that I feel this matter shouldn't be disclosed. It's quite shameful. What happened, Mr. Binh? Please tell me. Well, as you know, after the victims' bodies were discovered, they were all prepared and placed in coffins. For the first few victims whose bodies were found, their families reported that some jewelry, such as rings, necklaces, and even watches, were missing, even though they were still on the bodies when first discovered. At that point, mutual suspicion began to spread. When things became tense, Mr. Com and I stepped in to mediate, asking everyone to temporarily set aside their suspicions to continue the search. Also, so that those who had found their loved ones could bring them to their final resting place. Fortunately, people listened to me, and it didn't escalate. However, for the relatives of those who died later, when they heard the news, they immediately gathered to watch over the bodies until they were placed in coffins. This way, no more thefts occurred. We did narrow down a few suspects, but we never once suspected Mr. Su. He is an honest man, always helping others. There were even times when people brought money to give him, but he felt he had received enough support and asked them to give it to others instead. So, you mean you suspect Mr. Su was engaging in this grave-robbing behavior to steal the belongings of the deceased? I truly don't dare to accuse him, and deep down, I don't believe Mr. Su would do such a thing. But for now, we'll let the communal police handle it. If they find Mr. Su and confirm he was involved in illegal activities, I promise you, he will be dealt with severely. Also, I have one more request for you. Please tell me. I beg you, please don't include this negative information in your article. For the past month, everyone has known about the villagers' plight and their spirit of solidarity. If this story gets out, I'm afraid public opinion will turn against them, and these poor villagers here won't receive any more support from philanthropists. That would be truly tragic for them. I understand, Mr. Binh. Don't worry, I will selectively write only what needs to be written, and what doesn't I won't. I will be careful. That's excellent. On behalf of the Lung Cow villagers, I thank you. It's all right. I understand the difficulties faced by the people here. We can't let one person's wrongdoings affect everyone. You're absolutely right. Now, you should go back and get some rest. If you need to collect any more materials tomorrow, just let me know. Thank you so much, Mr. Binh. After Mr. Binh left, Lu Van walked towards her tent. But just as she was about to reach it, she stopped, noticing a silhouette standing right in front. Who's there? Lu Van asked, and immediately recognized it as Mrs. Bai, who quickly stepped forward and grabbed her hand. Leave here quickly, leave here at once. What's wrong, Grandma? Just go, it's very dangerous here. Dangerous? What's dangerous? Go, the forest spirits are coming. They're coming to snatch people away. Which forest spirits? Go quickly or the forest spirits will snatch you. Ngok, listen to your mother. Grandma, please calm down. Don't try to stop me from going. Mrs. Bai spun around as if to shield Lu Van from something unseen and clasped her hands together, bowing in all directions. Please, have mercy on my child. Don't take her. If you must take someone, take me. Just don't take my child. Mrs. Bai's cries somewhat woke the people in nearby tents, who emerged looking annoyed. That crazy woman is acting up again. Can't you let us sleep? Haven't we suffered enough loss already without her causing more trouble? Everyone, please, go quickly, go. Seeing this, Lu Van apologized. Everyone, please excuse her. She's a bit agitated. Please be understanding. Lu Van then tried to calm Mrs. Bai. Grandma, calm down. Let's go inside and rest now. Without hesitation, Lu Van opened her tent and led Mrs. Bai inside. The villagers, seeing this, just shook their heads in exasperation. After leading Mrs. Bai into her tent, Lu Van spent half an hour trying to soothe her. Only after Mrs. Bai's soft snores confirmed she was asleep did Lu Van lie down beside her. Perhaps it was the warmth of another person, but Lu Van no longer felt the biting cold, and sleep soon enveloped her. The insistent alarm pulled Lu Van from her sleep. She blinked, looking beside her, but Mrs. Bai was no longer there. The clock showed 6 a.m. Lu Van yawned, feeling the cold still lingering, and didn't want to get up right away. She lay in the tent until the sun was higher before finally stepping out. The morning air in the highlands was incredibly fresh and clear. Seeing the children playing happily in the mud, Lu Van felt a sense of peace. After taking care of her personal hygiene, she remembered Mr. Su's incident and decided to call Mr. Binh to inquire. It took until the second call for him to pick up. "Hello, I'm listening." "Good morning, Mr. Binh. Any news about Mr. Su yet?" "Not yet. The communal police force and my team have been searching for him, but there's no trace. No one has heard from Mr. Su either. I suspect he's fled into the forest. We will coordinate with the border guards to conduct a thorough search. Hopefully, we'll find him soon and clarify everything." "Ah, I see. And would you like to go anywhere else this morning?" "No, Mr. Binh, I don't think so. I'll stay here at the camp for now, play with the children, and chat a bit more. When I'm done, I'll call a taxi to take me back to town." "Oh, there's no need to call a taxi. After lunch, I'll have one of our police officers drive you back." "Oh, but that would be too much trouble, wouldn't it?" "What trouble? He's going to town anyway to buy some essential supplies. He can easily take you." "Well, in that case, thank you, Mr. Binh. I appreciate it." "Don't be so polite. You are our esteemed guest. All right then, I have some other matters to attend to. If you need anything, just call." "Yes, thank you, Mr. Binh." Call ended, and Lu Van let out a sigh. Time flew by quickly, and it was already past 1 p.m. Lu Van had finished her meal and even gave the children a small amount of money to buy books, notebooks, and pens. Looking at their innocent, beaming faces, Lu Van whispered encouragingly, "Children, no matter what happens, you must continue your studies and never give up, okay?" Hearing the children's eager "Yes, ma'am," Lu Van felt a glimmer of hope because she believed in the next generation. When they grew up and received a proper education, they would be able to help this rural village transform. After a little while, it was time to return to town. A police officer, his motorbike covered in mud, arrived. He looked at Lu Van and said, a bit shyly, "The seat is a bit narrow, so please bear with me, Miss Reporter." "It's fine. Having a ride like this is wonderful. I should be thanking you, otherwise I'd have a lot of trouble." "It's nothing. Go ahead and double-check your luggage and belongings, then we'll set off." Lu Van shook her head. "No, I don't need to check anything. I'm ready." She put on her backpack and waved goodbye to the children and the villagers. Although her time here was barely a day, Lu Van hoped that her collected materials and articles would help garner more assistance. After nearly 3 hours of travel, the police officer dropped Lu Van back at Hoa Hong Guest House. The guest house owner, upon seeing her, smiled and didn't forget to ask, "Lu Van, you're back. How was your trip? Was it smooth?" Lu Van nodded immediately. "It was very smooth, ma'am. Thanks to the help of the local authorities and the police, everything was arranged wonderfully." "That's good then. So you'll be staying here for another night and leaving tomorrow, right?" "Yes, the bus leaves tomorrow." "In that case, I'd like to invite you to a casual dinner with my husband and me tonight. Would that be all right?" "Oh, please don't be shy. I told you we consider you an honored guest. If you don't join us, it means you're looking down on our simple meal." "No, I don't mean to disrespect it at all. It's just, well, then I accept." "See, isn't that better? Now go up to your room, take a shower, rest for a bit, and I'll call you down when dinner's ready." "Oh, just to help out." "Help out with what? You've been working all day, you must be tired. Go and rest. Besides, these dishes I bought from outside, I didn't even prepare them myself." "All right, then I'll go and rest," Lu Van said. Both Lu Van and the guest house owner shared a small smile. But truthfully, at that moment, Lu Van only wanted to collapse onto the comfortable bed. The long, bumpy journey had left her feeling utterly exhausted. It had only been a short while since she arrived, but outside it was already dark. After the guest house owner called her, Lu Van left her room and went downstairs. In the living room, the couple was already seated at the dining table in front of a lavish spread of dishes. Lu Van looked at them, unable to help but exclaim, "Oh my goodness, ma'am, you've prepared so many dishes." "Oh, it's not that many. These are just some local specialties. We have chicken, fermented pork sausage, stir-fried vegetables. These are just a few. If you had a whole week to stay here, you could try all of our specialties. I wish I had that much time. Let me introduce you to my husband, the owner gestured. He works as a civil servant at a factory about 10 kilometers from here during the day. He eats dinner here, then goes back in the evening. Hello, sir, Lu Van greeted. Hello, miss, I've heard from my wife about you. So you went all the way to Lung Cow Village to write an article. Yes, I did go there. In general, people are doing better now, but there's still a lot of work to be done to restore their lives and production. By the way, I'm a bit curious. Did you film or take any documentary photos while you were there? To be honest with you, I've been following this case very closely and want to see what the situation is like there now. Yes, I did. I've copied all the images to my phone. Let me show you. Lu Van pulled out her phone from her pants pocket and started to open an image, but then she paused abruptly. The first photo she had taken was of the landslide site itself. At that time, besides herself, Mr. Com, and Mr. Binh, there was no one else around the muddy area. But now, in the photo, there were several shadowy figures, some near, some far. A chill ran down Lu Van's spine. She instinctively swiped to the next picture. Now, the horror reached its peak. The second photo showed the graves of the unfortunate victims. And in this picture, every single grave had a shadowy figure standing beside it, some even with incomplete bodies. This was the first time Lu Van had witnessed such a terrifying sight. She let out a shriek and dropped her phone to the floor. Lu Van's scream startled the guesthouse owner and her husband. Lu Van, what's wrong? Lu Van pointed to the phone on the floor, trembling. The guesthouse owner bent down, looked at it, and picked it up. What's wrong with your phone? Where is it? Let me see. Oh, these are photos of the victims' graves, aren't they? So sad. They look so cold and desolate. Wait, ma'am, do you see those people? Which people? The guesthouse owner asked, puzzled. Lu Van, suppressing her fear, reached for her phone, but there were no longer any shadowy figures. All the photos had returned to normal. What's wrong with you? Lu Van wanted to say something, but then shook her head. Oh, nothing. I just feel a bit tired, that's all, so I zoned out a bit. Do you need any medicine? No, thank you. I have some in my backpack. Well then, make sure to eat, then go up to your room to rest. I'll prepare a glass of lime juice with sugar for you. That'll perk you right up. Thank you so much, ma'am. You're being polite again. Now let's just start eating. During the meal, Lu Van's conversations with the guesthouse owner and her husband somewhat calmed her. Moreover, Lu Van convinced herself that she was simply tired and experiencing hallucinations. There was no such thing as spiritual matters or ghosts in this world. A while later, after eating and receiving the owner's lime juice, she didn't forget to thank her profusely before returning to her room. Upon reaching it, Lu Van wearily flopped onto the comfortable bed. At this point, she only wanted to get some sleep to regain her strength. Soon enough, sleepiness washed over her, and she gradually drifted off. However, this sleep was anything but peaceful. Lu Van had barely closed her eyes when she heard someone call her name. At first, she thought it was the guesthouse owner. But upon listening more closely, the voice was a man's. Lu Van groggily opened her eyes, but that very drowsiness was her undoing, as she now witnessed an utterly terrifying scene. Right outside her window was a familiar silhouette. It was Mr. Su, the man from Lung Cow Village. But what was horrifying was that his face was covered in blood, and his eyes were wide open and staring. He gazed intently at Lu Van, reaching out a hand and whispering, "Lu Van, Lu Van." Lu Van shrieked and shot upright, wide awake. When she finally calmed down, she realized it had all been just a dream. There was no one outside the window, and besides, she was on the second floor. No one could possibly be standing there. She repeated this fact to herself, trying to self-soothe. Once she felt somewhat stable, she lay back down on the bed. But she couldn't fall asleep immediately. Partly because she was still terrified by the horrifying vision, and partly because her stomach churned uncomfortably. She struggled until nearly dawn before finally drifting off. But the unsettling dreams didn't stop there. When she finally woke up, Lu Van was horrified to realize it was past 11 a.m. This meant that the only bus to the city had departed over an hour ago. She mentally chastised herself. Oh my goodness, Lu Van, how could you be so careless? A while later, after she had showered, dressed, and gone downstairs, she immediately noticed the guest house owner's surprised look. Oh, Lu Van, are you all right? Why are you just waking up now? I'm a bit tired, I guess. I'm afraid I'll have to trouble you for another night, as I missed my bus today. It's no trouble, you can rest here. I'm just worried you won't make it back to the city for your work. It's all right, I can work online, and the deadline for my article isn't due yet. Well, just rest then. I'll prepare lunch and we can eat together, just the two of us. Don't be shy. Thank you, ma'am. Lu Van was about to say something more when she heard her phone ring. She quickly pulled it out and saw the familiar number of Mr. Binh, the village chief, on the screen. Why is he calling? Lu Van quickly answered. Hello, this is Lu Van. Lu Van, is that you? You must be on your way back to the city now, right? I wish you a safe journey. Lu Van, not wanting to reveal her clumsiness, mumbled. Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Binh. When I have a chance, I'll come back to visit everyone. That's good. Oh, and Mr. Binh, what about Mr. Su? Have you found him? Ah, Mr. Su, I called to let you know that we found him. But what happened? Did Mr. Su confess anything? What was that action all about? I'm very sorry to inform you that when we found Mr. Su, he showed no signs of life. What? How could that be? Where did you find him? In the deep forest near a waterfall. It seems that while fleeing from the police and border guards, he slipped and fell. Mr. Binh sighed deeply. Everyone is currently making arrangements for his funeral. I also agreed with Mr. Kam not to pursue further investigation to avoid causing more panic among the villagers. But I think, if he hadn't done anything wrong, why would he flee and end up like this? It all stems from greed. He paused. I'm giving you this information so you're aware. I wish you good health and success in your work. If you ever have some free time to visit again, remember to call me. Yes, thank you, Mr. Binh. The call ended. Lu Van felt somewhat unsettled, a feeling that lingered throughout the day. She was restless and uncomfortable, her stomach burning as if on fire. Lu Van also confided in the guest house owner. After listening, the owner sighed and said, It's not just this year, but in remote areas like this, people's minds are still narrow, and greed often gets the better of them. They won't hesitate to do anything. Even I, many times, have been tricked by these very people. You'd think they're simple village folk, but some are far more cunning than you'd expect. Time flew by. Now, Lu Van had to be careful not to repeat yesterday's situation. She set a dozen alarms, spread out from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. After making all her preparations, Lu Van lay down. The clock now showed 10 p.m. That evening, after dinner with the guest house owner and her husband, they even gave her a small souvenir as a memento, a keychain. Indeed, thanks to their genuine warmth and hospitality, Lu Van's mood had become relaxed and comfortable. The next morning, Lu Van woke up at 7 a.m., dressed, and went downstairs. The guest house owner greeted Lu Van with a bright smile. Good morning, miss. You won't miss the bus to the station today, will you? Yes, I woke up early today. I'm not going back to the city yet, though. Ma'am, could you please call a motorbike taxi for me? What for? What are you going to do? I want to go back to Lung Khao village. Oh, are you serious? Why would you go back there? I am serious. I just remembered there's something else I need to do, so I want to go back. If I finish everything early, I'll come back this evening and stay another night. Please keep the room for me, okay? All right, don't worry. Finish your work and you can come back anytime. It's a good thing you missed the bus yesterday. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy to turn back now. Yes, that's true. But there was one thing Lu Van hadn't told the guest house owner. In her peaceful sleep, she had once again dreamed of Mr. Su. He appeared in a terrifying form, not only calling her name, but also whispering that he had died unjustly, died painfully, died a terrible death. When she woke up, Lu Van was no longer afraid. Instead, she had become curious about the man's death. Was there a hidden truth behind it? And if it wasn't a hidden truth, but merely an accident, she still wanted to find out if he had truly been a grave robber who stole valuables. This was precisely why Lu Van decided to return to Lung Khao village once more. This time, she intended to write her own exclusive report. Because of this, Lu Van temporarily didn't want to call Mr. Binh, fearing she would bother him. Riding the motorbike taxi, Lu Van arrived at the village close to noon. After paying, she simply walked straight ahead. Soon, the children recognized her. They cheered and shouted, "Miss Lu Van is back, everyone!" Lu Van smiled at them, but her smile didn't last long when she heard some adults approach. "What are you kids doing here? Go home, don't you remember what I told you?" As if remembering something, the children quickly ran off. What was strange was that it was still daytime. Lu Van, curious, asked one of the men, "Excuse me, sir, why are you forbidding the children from playing? Just let them play here for a bit. What are they waiting for? They haven't even played yet." "Played what? You don't need to know. Just leave here, ma'am." "I don't want to stay here either. I just want to find out about Mr. Su's death and what led to him harming everyone." "What do you mean? It's too much trouble, just go away." With that, the man turned and walked back towards the communal camp. Truly, the more Lu Van heard, the more suspicions arose in her heart. Shortly after, in the early afternoon, she noticed a strange middle-aged man appear. This man was definitely not from the village. Before him, a crowd gathered, showing him deference. Lu Van approached and tried to inquire, but people didn't maintain their usual friendliness with her, and no one explained anything. Feeling a bit helpless, Lu Van then remembered something and went to find some soldiers to ask where Mr. Su's tent was. Following their directions, she found the tent in a far corner of the camp. Upon arrival, Lu Van peered inside and saw a woman wearing a mourning headscarf, her eyes red and swollen. Lu Van spoke up, "Hello, ma'am. Are you Mrs. Hong, Mr. Su's wife?" Upon hearing that name, the woman's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Why are you asking about him? Why are you mentioning him?" "Are you Mrs. Hong?" "Yes, this is Hong. Ma'am, I've heard about Mr. Su, but I still have many questions. Would you be able to tell me what happened clearly?" "Don't ask anymore. I'm not crazy." Seeing Mrs. Hong in such distress, Lu Van stepped inside and gently took the woman's hand. "Please calm down. I don't mean any harm. I just want to understand what truly happened." It took a long while for Mrs. Hong to calm down. She recounted, her voice choked with emotion. "My husband did something wrong. He took the silver jewelry from the deceased. I knew about it, but he wouldn't listen to my pleas. He said he was just trying to get a little more so he could take me to town. He wasn't worried about the rain or natural disasters anymore. I even thought about telling the police if he continued, but I didn't get the chance before everything happened. But that's not all. My husband's death wasn't simply an accident. It was because he was digging up graves, which is a forbidden act. And then he ran into the forest, which is where the forest spirits reside. They attacked him there, and that's how he died. And those whose graves were disturbed won't find peace either. Yesterday, when they heard the news of my husband's death, the relatives of the victims became even more concerned. They invited a famous shaman from the region to perform a divination and see if my husband's actions had caused any blasphemy or negative consequences. The shaman examined the situation and then declared that disturbing the graves had caused the souls of the deceased to be unable to find peace. Now, to appease them, the only way is to exhume the bodies and cremate them. My goodness, why would they do that? They've already been buried for over half a month, their bodies decomposing. Doing that will lead to pollution and be very unsanitary. I don't know about that, but since the shaman said so, everyone agreed to pool their money to perform the ritual. And it's costing a lot. Some families are spending tens of millions. All the money that philanthropists donated before is now being spent on this ceremony. It's all because of my husband. I'm so ashamed. Do you know that today, when they buried him, not a single villager helped. We had to ask some soldiers to carry him to the cemetery. It's so pitiful, but he made a mistake, so what can we do now? I think after this, I'll have to leave this place. I can't stay here anymore." "Grandma, calm down. Don't let your thoughts run wild. I don't think this will affect those who have already been buried. Their graves haven't been disturbed. If we want their souls to rest in peace and cross over quickly, then we shouldn't touch them, right? All right. Let's talk to Mr. Binh about this." At this point, Lu Van opened her backpack and took out an envelope. "Ma'am, I wanted to give you a little something to help you out." "Oh child, what are you doing? I'm fine." "Just take it, please. I heard you have an illness that needs traditional medicine, and that requires money, doesn't it?" Mrs. Hong was so touched that she burst into tears. Thank you, child. Leaving Mrs. Hong's tent, Lu Van immediately called Mr. Binh. It took a while for him to pick up. Hello, Lu Van, I'm here. Have you returned to the city yet? How was your trip? Remember to let me know. Hello, Mr. Binh. I'm currently at the villagers' camp. Oh, you're still there. Didn't I tell you that you should go back? Why haven't you returned to the city yet? Ah, well, I have something I'd like to discuss with you. What is it? Please tell me. I'm busy dealing with matters related to Mr. Su's death, and more importantly, the superstitions running rampant here are really affecting people. Why is it so serious now? All right, please wait a moment for me to get there. It took almost an hour for Mr. Binh to arrive. Hello, Lu Van. Hello, Mr. Binh. What is it you want to tell me? I'll handle it. Lu Van then recounted everything Mrs. Hong had told her. After finishing, she said, I think officials like you should eradicate these superstitious beliefs and rituals instead of letting them recur. Mr. Binh sighed at her question. You've misunderstood. Actually, I was already aware of this information and had someone verify it. Firstly, the shaman didn't demand any money for the ritual. He performed it out of goodwill. In fact, he's worked here for decades and has never taken money for any rituals. As for exhuming the victims' graves from the landslide for cremation, that was the wish of their families. They even submitted a petition to me. I believe this is a legitimate request, and besides, think about it. So many bodies buried in the ground for so long, I was worried about contaminating the groundwater. Now, if they're cremated and their ashes are brought home for worship, isn't that much neater and cleaner? There's nothing complicated about it. I hope you understand what I'm saying. And please don't listen to Mrs. Hong and collect misleading information. After Mr. Su's death, she not only refused to acknowledge her husband's wrongdoings, but also caused trouble and stirred things up. I'm having a headache dealing with this case. It's not a simple matter. At this, Lu Van sighed. I understand now. I thought there was something negative going on with all this. No, there isn't. You can rest assured. As long as I'm working here, I'll do my best to serve our villagers. Do you have any more questions, or should I get back to work? No, I don't have any more questions. Thank you, Mr. Binh. After Mr. Binh left, Lu Van sought out a few other people and asked around. They indeed confirmed that the shaman, Mr. T. Vong, didn't charge money. He only performed rituals as a good deed. Furthermore, all the families with deceased relatives had discussed and collectively decided on cremation. It had nothing to do with Mr. T. Vong. He merely assisted everyone with the ceremony. Near the end of the day, with no more questions, Lu Van walked to the main road and called a motorbike taxi to take her back to town. As she waited for the ride, she couldn't help but chuckle and scold herself for being so gullible, for nearly believing in such spiritual matters. Later that evening, at the cemetery, a large crowd of villagers had gathered, because in just a few moments, the coffins of their deceased relatives would be exhumed and cremated. But then, at that very moment, a group of people arrived, among them Mr. Com, the communal police officer, and his subordinates. Mr. Binh, along with the other villagers, stopped what they were doing. Mr. Binh approached Mr. Com and Lu Van. What are you all doing here? We are helping the villagers cremate their deceased loved ones. Lu Van glared at Mr. Binh. Mr. Binh, at this very moment, how can you still pretend to be a benevolent person? What are you talking about? Lu Van then held up an old black and white button phone in front of him. Mr. Binh, do you recognize this phone? This is Mr. Su's phone. You must have been looking for it all this time, but luckily, that night, Mr. Su was digging up a grave and left this phone in his wife's basket of medicine. This phone also has a silent mode, so even if you called, no one would have found it. But how did it end up in your hands? Lu Van gave a faint smile. She recalled that about 2 hours earlier, while she was waiting for a motorbike taxi, Mrs. Hong had rushed over and thrust the phone into her hand, saying it was her husband's phone and that since she couldn't read, she wanted Lu Van to check if he had messaged anyone. And when Lu Van opened the phone, she accidentally discovered text messages between Mr. Su and Mr. Binh, which revealed a terrible truth. Mr. Su had indeed secretly stolen valuable jewelry from the victims, but most of it had to be shared with Mr. Binh. Furthermore, a considerable portion of the donated and relief funds also ended up in their hands. On the night Mr. Su was reported missing, Mr. Binh had guessed that he was hiding in a deep cave in the forest. So, the next day, using the excuse of a search party, he went into the forest and found Mr. Su there. When Mr. Su started revealing what he had done, Mr. Binh, seizing the moment when Mr. Su wasn't paying attention, pushed him down a waterfall. When he saw blood staining the water, certain that Mr. Su was no longer alive, he quietly left, acting as if he knew nothing. It turned out that Mr. Binh was also utterly ruthless, having conspired with the shaman, Mr. T. Vong, to fabricate the story of a spiritual curse preventing the souls of the deceased from finding peace, all to extort the remaining money they had received from philanthropists. And of course, the shaman's true identity was also not to be revealed to outsiders. After the truth was exposed, Mr. Calm stepped forward and, using handcuffs, arrested Mr. Binh. It was only at this moment that the villagers realized they had been deceived. They rushed forward, throwing mud and dirt at the corrupt, despicable man who would stop at nothing. A few days later, shocking news broke about Mr. Binh, the village chief, embezzling relief funds and abusing his authority to defraud and appropriate assets, sparking a wave of public outrage. And, of course, Lu Van was the reporter who wrote and published that story. As for Lu Van herself, she was no longer so rigid in dismissing the existence of the spiritual world. This was because she believed that night the spirit of Mr. Su had truly tried to reach her and warn her. It was thanks to this that she was able to uncover the truth.